What's going on, guys, and welcome to today's video. And today we're going to be finally fixing something on the new Jeep that has been bothering me since day one, because it's something you sit in. Obviously you guys saw the title or the picture or whatever, but I'm hopefully going to be fixing the very broken down driver's seat. Now, what I mean by broken down driver's seat is the outside seat bolster on this thing is almost completely broken down and flat. The inside bolster is obviously fine, but when people slide in and out of vehicles, instead of kind of lifting theirself out, that outside seat bolster gets absolutely destroyed. No, yeah, and obviously this thing is an old vehicle. It's a 2001, so even regardless of that, the foam breaks down, it gets worn, whatever. So hopefully today we're going to be swapping in a fresh, or at least kind of fresher seat foam. Now, I wasn't able to find a new one online, or at least not one that I thought was the correct one for this old 99 through 01, cloth seat. So what I did, I went out to the salvage yard because I'm a bargain shopper with my Jeeps, and I got a seat bottom. Now here is a new to me used seat bottom. Now you may be saying, well, isn't this going to be just as broken down as the one that I've got? But what I did was grab a passenger seat bottom, because 99% of the time there's only a driver in the vehicle. The passenger seat typically is unused, and most of them out at the salvage yard, obviously the driver's seat is all tired and broke down, and the passenger seat seems perfect. So I grabbed a passenger seat foam out of the salvage yard, pulled the seat cover off, pulled the seat foam, and I'm hopefully going to kind of modify, cut, trim, make it work on the driver's side. Now, I have never done this. I don't know if it'll work, but it honestly doesn't look that different. This passenger one has kind of a big cutout over here and then a big flap over here. Obviously, I'll just kind of need to mirror the cuts on both sides, but this thing has to be better than what I've got going. The driver's seat is just really uncomfortable to sit in right now, since you are basically kind of sitting off to one side while you're driving it because of that broken down seat. So let's get this seat out of the Jeep, try and take it apart, see if we can get this foam on there, and hopefully make this a lot nicer place to be. Now, if you had a power seat, then obviously you're going to want to reach under, unplug your power connectors for the power seat or the heated seats. This thing, as you guys know, super base model, it is not power seat, so there's nothing I need to unplug other than just getting the seat bolts out. So we've got that seat slid forward, we've got the 15, and we'll hopefully get these bolts out. And then up front, we also have a couple of 15s. And then I'm going to slide the seat forward and probably recline it forward, and then hopefully get this thing drug out of there. Now, an added benefit of pulling the seat is being able to vacuum all the stuff you can't normally get to. And honestly, this isn't that bad, but you can see, or maybe you can't, all of this yellow dust is seat foam from that seat bolster just crumbling apart under the seat. And now that this thing's out, you can even get a better view of the good inside seat bolster and then the completely flat outside seat bolster, totally broken down over here, and kind of causes you to lean a little bit when you're sitting in this thing. So now that we've got this out, I'm going to get the seat back off of this thing. So we're going to need to start kind of stripping this thing down. Get this outside cover off, which is just some Phillips screws. And then it just happily falls off the seat. And now we've got a couple of bolts on each side to get the recliner bracket off. So here on the inside of the seat, it looks like we've got a T45 Torx that we'll need to take out. And then on the outside piece, got a couple of 13 millimeter Torx, or excuse me, 13 millimeter bolts that will get out of there. And then the whole seat back will lift off of the seat. Now there is a little spacer here that kind of goes in between the seat back and the bracket, so don't lose that. But now we're ready to start tearing the seat cover off. So we'll flip this thing over, and some of these have already come loose on this, but there are these plastic U-shaped channels that clip over these bars, and you'll need to get all of those pulled off. And then this one's pretty much all come apart by itself, but you'll get all of these plastic channels pulled off. Some of them might even have these metal hog rings, is what these are called. So you might need to take some wire cutters and cut those so you can get them apart. And now that we've got all of those clips and stuff, we can start kind of unrolling that seat cover off of the seat. Now the seat cover will actually be held onto the seat foam with even more of those hog rings. You can see there are these metal clips right there. Right there. They're just all the way around this seat bottom. So I will need to go through and cut all of those. I've just got some metal snips here, and I'll go around, cut all of those hog rings, and then we can finally get this cover all the way off this thing. So we finally got that seat foam out. There was another hog ring here at the very back that kind of bolted the foam down, or held the foam down to the actual seat frame. So I had to get one more of those out of there. But now that we've got this thing out, you can see how broken down this thing is. It's just completely gone. The foam is just flat. It's cracked. It's very done for. So even though the foam that I've got is from a salvage yard and used and probably equally old, the fact it's a passenger side and not worn down, not completely smashed and broken like this one, it has to make it a nicer place to be. So to get this new seat foam ready, I'm gonna make sure all of the old hog rings are removed. They're just all those little half metal pieces left from when I pulled this thing out at the salvage yard. Now it looks like the only thing I'm really gonna need to do to make this passenger seat bottom fit on a driver's seat is just pretty much trim this thing out right here, so the recliner mechanism can still bolt to its location on the seat frame and the foam's not in the way. So I'm just gonna take a razor blade and just kind of loosely trim it similarly, and it'll be just fine. So we now have access to the bolts, and I'm going to call that good enough because, like I said, we are going from a very broken seat foam that's destroyed to a very not broken seat foam. So I'm pretty excited to get this thing in. So we will set this thing back in place. And now you definitely want to reattach the seat cover to the seat foam. It kind of helps hold it down. It's just obviously how it's supposed to be, but I absolutely hate those metal hog rings. Now, I'm sure some upholstery people would be, you know, cringing at this, but I like to use zip ties. With the zip ties, you can relatively easily push them up under the little piece of bar, I guess, or whatever you want to call it, in the seat foam. And then you can have it on either side of the material, like so. So when that seat cover goes through, you put your zip tie through, tighten the zip tie, cut the end off, and then you can even kind of twist the larger end of the zip tie up under the foam, and it's perfect. Now, yes, they do make like dedicated hog ring pliers, and if I had a set of those, maybe they would be nice to use and I would like them, but man, for as quick and easy as doing the zip tie method is, and I've not ever had any issues with them, that's what I use. Seems to work great, so I'm gonna keep doing it. So we'll get that cover kind of roughly back where it goes. Get the zip tie through the hole in the seat cover, tighten it down, cut the end of the zip tie off, and then instead of leaving the top part of the zip tie, you can just push it and fold it under, and then the only thing that's showing is just that little backside. It honestly looks pretty clean. So I am gonna need to do that on all three sides of this thing. And again, guys, if you didn't really catch what I'm doing here, we are putting a zip tie underneath that little rod in the seat foam, and then getting the seat cover back down. We've got the metal bar on the seat cover, pulling that tight. Once those are both tight, taking and trimming the ends of the zip ties off. And then finally taking that zip tie and pushing it underneath, like so. Now, once we got all of those zip ties taken care of, we can take this seat cover and slowly try to work it back over the seat. And I find kind of taking my hands on the inside and then working that material down seems to work well. Now, one thing I kind of knew of or was kind of worried about is the shape of the seat foam. If you guys can see, the driver's side is a little more round than the passenger side, which is kind of flat here. So putting the wrong side seat cover or seat foam on this thing is going to make the seat kind of shaped a little bit different, I guess. You know, the inside's going to be a little more shapely and the outside is going to be kind of more flat, but it has to be better than the old broken seat foam, regardless if the shape is off a little bit. Now we'll need to flip this thing over and get all of those plastic clips back into their channels, which is pretty easy when the seat's out of the vehicle. Now we can get our seat back thrown back on this thing. We've got the two 13mm bolts that go here on the driver's side. And then on the inside side, we had the big spacer shim thing that went through the bolt and was held on with that T45 Torx. And then last, we'll get that cover thrown back on the side, and this thing will be all the way back together. And just like that, we've got a kind of rebuilt junkyard wrong seat foam rebuilt seat, and that'll hopefully be better than what I had. Now I'm gonna go do some vacuuming. I'm gonna vacuum out the carpet here, vacuum the seat. We'll throw it back in and I will sit in it and we'll get our first impressions of this hodgepodge Frankenstein seat build. All right guys, got the floor vacuumed, the seat kind of vacuumed and bolted back in, and here is our final product here. And again, I'm sure it's probably going to be kind of hard to see on camera, but prior to that seat foam, this whole bolster was completely flat with the rest of the seat. It was just all, you know, kind of wrinkled up here because all of the foam had broken down. The fabric was all wadded up, and now it is holding itself up like it's supposed to. And sitting in this thing now, honestly, it feels weird because it's always been very broken down. You're kind of always leaning to the side unless you're, you know, kind of leaning back. It feels like my head is almost touching the ceiling in here now because it feels like multiple inches more lift on the seat. But the big important thing is it's even. You're not leaning over. It feels so much better. And I haven't even driven it. I'm sitting on it here in the driveway and it's so much better. Now, what I did to pick my seat foam, like I said, went out to the salvage yard and I tried to find the newest WJ that was out there. There was a 2004 because I hoped a 2004 seat foam would be in a little bit better shape than a 99 or a 2000 or whatever. So found a Laredo, found a 04, like I said, and grabbed that seat foam. Now, yes, the shape is just a little bit different, but compared to what we had, that's 100% better. I'd rather have a little kind of misshapen seat than one that's broken down and horrible to sit in and not an enjoyable play. So if your WJ is anything like mine, or most of them, that driver's seat bolster at this point in their life is pretty darn broken down. And now you guys know with just one little cut, you can basically directly put the passenger seat foam onto a driver's seat and have a basically brand new seat again for very cheap. I can't remember what the salvage yard charged, like 10 or 15 bucks for the seat foam. That's pretty cheap little upgrade, definitely when it's something you're sitting on every single day. So I don't know, it works for a WJ. Surely it would work for other random makes and models that are getting old and tired at this point. Hopefully you can find them in your salvage yard, take a seat foam, bolt it in, and have a lot better place to sit. So guys, just another little update on the Jeep. Another little upgrade or repair, not really an upgrade. We're fixing it back to how it should be. But guys, as always, thanks for watching and we'll catch you guys next time.